its first press conference. You know, that's a way to start, right? You know, I was going to read my statement that I just gave on our Big 12 media session, but I heard all of you heard that, so I won't do that again. But I will say that this move was really about aligning with institutions that are investing in athletics to win national championships. And that's what this is all about. And these institutions that we're going to be partnering with are strong academically. They have tremendous fan bases. They have tremendous coaches, teams, and again, they align with where we believe that we have been for quite some time, which is putting resources in to being the very best at the very highest level. And that's why it's so special. And it's special as well because of all the work that went into it. It wasn't easy. It took years and years, and it took a lot of people that believed in Bearcat athletics and were willing to step out and say, if we do X, Y, and Z, we will be a Power 5 institution. And so I'm very proud to say today that we are Big 12 Bearcats.
Obviously, exciting time for all. I'm a little bit naive. I haven't been here through a lot of the transitions that we have obviously gone through. So I know for us, looking at it for our program, the future of what we've been trying to do is always growing. I think that was for me in particular was what continued to excite me about where we are as a football program, was always seeing the ability for us to continue to grow. This has done nothing but kind of give us another platform to find a way for us to continue to grow our football program. So I also want to be able to say thank you more than anything to all the people that have really done the work behind this. Like you said, it's not something that was done in the last year or two. What has been done over the last probably 10 years or so to get us to this point, to have this opportunity. There's an incredible amount of people that have worked really, really hard behind a lot of scenes. I know for me, I'm sure Michelle will say the same thing, that when we get kind of fixated in what we're doing, we're always growing and working and pushing. And to know that our university, our alumni, our board, our president, and everybody was doing the exact same thing, so to speak, behind the scenes to give us an opportunity to continue to grow, makes me feel really, really good about our program, but most importantly about the people that are really running our university in our athletic department. So thank you to all of them as well.
They say the best for last. Definitely I just want to say to echo a lot of things that John and Luke have said. Just so grateful for all the people that came before. I'm very fortunate. I think I'm sitting in a different seat because I was here as an assistant coach on the women's basketball side many years ago. So grateful now to be here as a head coach and to be a part of something special as today. For our program, the same way, to have the opportunity to be able to recruit nationally against Power Fives, to have the ability to go into homes and to have the chance to just continue to build this program into a championship program is something that we're really excited about. Definitely would always like to thank all the people that came before, and especially for me, again, as I say, I said this when I came back and was appointed the head coach. You know, a lot of things where the foundation was laid a lot, especially on the women's basketball side, you know, with Lloyd Proto and a lot of people that came before. So just really excited about all the former players, everyone else, and just the leadership of everyone to put us in this position. And we're super excited, so grateful for this opportunity.
All right, questions?
Coach, you got here in 2016, kind of right after things had passed them by the first time. So how excited were you this morning when your wife told you what was happening?
I actually had some inclination a little bit beforehand, thanks to John, that there was something going on that my wife didn't have to tell me. As you would know, I don't follow a whole lot. But no, I think that was a part of when I remember when I was doing my interview, just through the process of what they had gone through before when they had the opportunity. Again, I'm kind of that guy that looks at the immediacy of now, and for the 18 to 22-year-olds that I got, you know, the 125 guys for right now. I just told somebody, it doesn't do a lot for us right now because we're so locked in and focused, but we know what it does for our program. We know what it does moving forward, whether it's recruiting, the things that we can continue to give to our young people, what we can continue to provide for them, and I mean that on a stage, a national stage, to give them an opportunity to play and do what it is that they want to do. It just gives us so many more opportunities, you know, and I think what it does too for our kids is it gives them another chance to grow. And I'm not saying they, you know, weren't going to grow where we were right now, but it throws you into some other situations that, you know, some other venues and some things that really are challenging for us as a program and them as individuals. And there's no greater way to grow in what we're doing than to be thrown in some of these opportunities that they're going to be thrown into.
John, President Pinto mentioned that initial call you made to Bob Bowlesby. Can you just describe how that conversation went and then how the process unfolded from there, from your perspective?
Sure. You know, one of the things I've always talked about is if and when there was an opportunity, we were going to be ready. And so we actually had a group here that would meet every other week, and it was the if and when committee. And all we did was talk about conference realignment, and there was a lot of work that was put into kind of evaluating some of the things that could happen. And so when the churn of conference realignment started with Oklahoma and Texas not extending their grant of rights, then all of a sudden that door opened. And so I, you know, immediately had a conversation with President Pinto, and we agreed we were going to be aggressive, we were going to be respectful of our American Conference partnership, but we were going to be very aggressive. And so we started to make phone calls to key individuals, and one of those was Bob Bowlesby. And I called him, and I remember being a little surprised he picked up, and we had a really good conversation. And then it went, you know, a couple weeks as this kind of played out. Didn't talk as much, but then he reconnected, and we had more conversations, and then eventually made our way down to see him in Dallas, and had, you know, a really good sit down with him. And coming out of that meeting in Dallas, I felt very strongly that this was a real possibility and that this was probably going to happen. And so, you know, we updated the board and then kind of went from there, and then it happened very quickly.
When was that meeting that you
Toward the end of August. The trip down there was toward the end of August.
Thanks.
For the coaches, Luke, I know you don't use Group of Five and Power Five in your program. Michelle, I don't know if you use them, but those are big terms that are used around the country. Obviously, you don't have to worry about that anymore. You have to get creative when you want to get a top-notch athlete to come to a Group of Five school. That's not a challenge anymore joining the Big 12. How big is that?
It's huge. It really is. I think that, you know, to be able to be in the conversation and be in the room with a lot of those great programs is a big deal. You know, now the work begins, and that you have to lay the foundation and to make sure that you are pinpointing those top athletes, the ones that fit everything that the University of Cincinnati stands for, but it's definitely huge, and we're super excited about it.
Same, I think, you know, I think more than anything, it puts pressure onto us as coaches, for me and our staff, because at times people use that as an excuse to say, well, they beat us up on the league and the P5 thingy, when in reality, I said that's never going to be an excuse for us. Now, it legitimately is not an excuse. But I do believe that, like all these kids at 17, 18 years old, what they want is to play on those big stages. And I think there is some incredible recognition of being in the Big 12, the stages that they will play on, the challenges that they will face. Not that we didn't face them in our league today, but I think that when you're looking at it as recruiting and these young kids, the ability for them to play on some of those stages, to be in those, to have those opportunities, it will go a long way on the recruiting side of things.
John, our understanding is this could be in time for football in 24 or 23. That's kind of a fluid timeline. And how complicated is that process as an athletic director to kind of fit to when you guys are actually going to make the jump?
Yeah, we're contractually obligated to the American Conference, so we would not start until the earliest, no earlier than July 1, 2024. Now, I say that if conversations and arrangements are made that would be different than that, then those are going to take place between the American Conference schools that are leaving and the conference office. But that's where it stands right now. So we'll follow our contractual obligations with the conference.
Do you have any sense what those negotiations, if there was something sooner, what that might entail?
I do not.
Is there any precedence with UConn having gotten out early? Is that a guide that can be used between the two sides, or a completely different set of circumstances?
You know, we haven't gotten there yet, so we'll deal with that when it's appropriate.
I know Commissioner Bowlesby said he didn't have a sense of what the financial impact might be for the new members. Has there been any internal analysis or maybe even hopes of what it might look like when you guys do join the Big 12 financially?
Yeah, we've certainly had some conversations, but it hasn't been completely finalized at this point.
So you're not going to give me a number on this?
I'm not gonna-
I'm teaching him well.
Michelle, as the only person up here who was here, I won't age you, so several years ago, and you've seen the journey both up close and from afar. To see this day happen, did you ever think that something like this would happen here at the University of Cincinnati?
I'm going to speak on I think it was one of the reasons why I came back. I just seen how much growth, how much was put into not only the athletic department, but everything around campus, and how just everything has just continued. It was always an amazing institution as far as academically, all the different things that were offered. But I think that's something that, and I just say this and speak for our program, when we was always recruiting, we always said, this university and this athletic department, they treat us as we are a Power 5, and we operated that way. And so to see this come to this day is pretty amazing. I've gotten a lot of texts from former players and things like that, and I feel like that's something that really makes you realize how special it is, especially for me, as I said, because I was here before, and to get those texts from former players and different coaches and things like that, it really means a lot.
John, I know you don't know the numbers, but going forward, how much does something like this change internal plans for future capital projects, an indoor practice facility, or advancements for men's and women's basketball? Is it instant, or is it more measured and played out over time?
I had a Zoom call with the coaches, and I told them this. I feel like we're in growth mode right now because we want to compete day one when we enter into the Big 12. And so we got to continue to push and grow and make sure that we're resourced appropriately. And that includes an indoor football facility. That includes some locker room projects that we have. That includes some amenities for our student athletes that we know that we have to increase to be at that level. So we have a little bit of runway, which is good, but we're growing. We're gonna push.
John, would there be any opportunity for new sports coming in, or any old sports to be reinstated now with the changing conferences?
Right now we are not thinking that way. When we talked to Commissioner Bowlesby, he did not suggest that we had to add any sports. So we're comfortable with where we are right now. Obviously, as things play out, they can change, but we're good where we are.
Luke, is there a new opponent or new school venue you're excited to go to? I mean, West Virginia and UC used to have a nice rivalry in the Big East. Is there anything that just kind of sticks out in your mind about the Big 12?
You know what? I have not played a bunch of the Big 12, to be honest with you. And I don't know that I've played at any of those venues. But in just the immediacy of the now, I look at West Virginia and a rivalry and what will really excite not just our program, but our fan base, our community. That, to me, is the things that make me as excited as anything, whether it's going there or coming here. I don't know much about it, and I don't know much about the other venues, but just to have that regional, to have that rivalry, and I don't just mean on the field, I mean in the recruiting side of things too, that really generates a lot of energy from social media, from our fans and things like that, that throughout the American you haven't had the opportunity to have because you don't recruit against them, you don't have some of the history with them. So I think this will really kind of bring back a lot of that, I want to say, some good energy, even outside of the season times.
Coach, some of the biggest brands in women's college basketball are in the Big 12. How much is a challenge to you that you've got to take it up even another level?
Definitely. I think it's one thing Luke commented about a few minutes ago. you definitely now, we were meeting with my coaches earlier, and we were talking about this, is now it's game on. There's nothing, no excuse for us, because now you're going to go up against the best in recruiting. You know, I'm fortunate that I started my coaching career in the Big 12, so I have been to those venues, and I know what it's like to play Iowa State. I know what it's like to play in those at Baylor and all those places. So we have a lot of work in front of us, but sitting here as a head coach and someone that has done this for a while, this is what we're just like the student athletes. This is what you want. You want to be in this position and have the opportunity to be able to compete at that level.
So for both coaches, how will this move impact your recruiting footprint, now traveling more to those other cities, but also those programs are now going to have a little more access to Ohio, so does that change your approach locally at all as well?
Well, I feel like everybody, especially on the women's basketball side, everyone comes into Ohio anyway and recruit, so that's just how it is. Yeah, I think just evaluating what that looks like. I know we'll be in Texas a lot playing, but you have a ton of schools in Texas. So I think you have to really, you know, for ourselves, we're trying to make sure that we evaluate and look to what is going to be best for our program and how we recruit. But we're going to recruit nationally. We're going to go after the best players. But I think we have to understand and know where we're at this point in time and how to grow to get to that point. So I think it's really important that we do that and that we continue to build with what we have, but also to add a lot of major pieces. And so I think that's, but it definitely changes, you know, to be quite honest, really looking at it now because these classes become very more different than how we looked at it. Some players that could have possibly played for us in the AAC, not going to be players that can play for us at the Big 12 level.
I don't know that our footprint will change. We've already talked about it. You know, we kind of have an idea and with that 300-mile radius for us. I think what it does is just puts us in the mix for a lot of other guys within that 300-mile radius. So to say we're going to be going to Iowa and Baylor and those, then all of a sudden we're going to start to change to recruit those areas. We're pretty fortunate, like I said, in that 300 miles to have plenty of guys, and we've battled against the Kentuckys and the Indianas and the Purdues and the Michigan States of the world. And I would imagine we will still battle in those same regions of things, but I think it just gives us another, you know, another leg up in some ways to really kind of sell the conference and to sell, you know, the stages that they'll play on, whether they're, you know, still from the 300-mile radius that, you know, have never really known anything about Baylor or some of those other, you know, places. I think it'll just give us another, you know, some more juice in the recruiting side of things, but I don't want it to change who we are, how we've done things. We just want to continue to grow.
Does this allow you to dip back in the recruiting drawer on some guys that are girls that have maybe passed over for Power 5 opportunities, to give them a call back up and see if they'll answer the phone this time?
For us, that has been a key term that I have not liked and not cared for. Does hit, yeah, but I also don't think that if it's not the right ones, then they still aren't going to be the right ones for us. But I think moving forward, there are definitely going to be some natural interest just because of the name in the conference, because that's something that, let's be honest, that the 16, 17-year-olds all think and talk about. So it will give us some greater opportunities. It's still going to be about the ability to build a relationship and still going to be about the product that you're selling.
I think it's the same way for us also too, just making sure that we're getting the right fit for what that is, and being in a situation where we understand what that looks like. You know, we're trying to get like Luke and be able to recruit it, and they've done a phenomenal job, and I think that's something that we're trying to make sure that we can do too. As far as, you know, people reaching back out and doing those things, you know, we're very fortunate in the situation that we're in now, and we have recruited players that, you know, went on to a Power 5 and transferred back. So I think it's all, as Luke said, about relationships and what that looks like, and if it's going to be a great fit for you and your staff and the program.
This is for John and Luke. Just tomorrow, I know the football game to win is #1, but to see kind of the fan base's reaction, like in person a day after this announcement, how cool will that be to just see in person the buzz on a game day?
Yeah, I think it's great timing. I mean, obviously, we have a Legion of Excellence event, which is our Hall of Fame event here in just a few minutes too. So everything kind of lines up, and I know Coach was looking at his watch, so he's ready to get back to his team and make sure that they're prepared. So he's already in coach mode.
No, I think timing is everything, and what our kids enjoy, I said that doesn't mean something right now to our kids. What it really means to our kids is when they go out there at 3:30 tomorrow to feel the extra buzz that, that our fan base, our student body that really recognizes what this means for the future of where we're headed. We know it's a lot of work, but for those 18 to 22, or those ones that are going to take the field or the court here, there is definitely going to be an extra buzz, I would hope and believe, from our student body and our fan base about what is going on here and all the work that, that everybody has done to get us this opportunity as we move forward.
John, in 2 years, have you ever just stopped and thought, do things ever slow down at this place?
I don't think they do. And
They don't.
and that's all right. I have a couple of athletic directors that I know that started right around the same time, and we do commiserate every once in a while about how wild it's been. But I said it earlier, it's all about the people around you, and I see Beth Hussey out there. She sits right out as my administrative assistant and helps me out every day and gets me through some of the toughest days and says, hey, I've seen this before, you'll be okay, and you need that every once in a while. But it's been wild, but a lot of fun, and from day one, this was where we wanted to be, and so this is just awesome.
John, I guess it would mainly pertain to football, but have you had any discussions about how this would impact future scheduling, whether in terms of number of non-conference games, but also any future opponents?
Yeah, we're not sure if it's going to be 8 or 9 conference games. We haven't gotten there yet, but our schedule actually sets up pretty well to adjust either way, and so I really like our schedule. We don't have any. I'm looking at Maggie in the back. I don't think we have any Big 12 teams on our schedule, so we didn't have to do anything in terms of changing that, and so it works out well.
Anything else? All right. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you very shortly on the first.
Thank you.